no longer a secret that North Texas is seeing unprecedented growth. And in this Boomtown Special, we're sharing how that growth is reshaping cities across the area. Thank you for joining us. I'm Kara Sewell.
And I'm Jason Wheeler. Right now, we are in the small but quickly growing community of Alliance, where a lot of that growth is happening.
Now, studies show that every 3 minutes, a new person is moving to North Texas. Jobin Penniker shows us the other areas that are going through a population increase.
Vincent Van Gogh type deal. Little yard art here.
The best way to get anyone talking
It is yard art.
is to ask them
Office of the Forney Messenger, oldest newspaper in Kaufman County.
about their hometown.
Many, many stories.
My family's been in Salina since 1887.
The small town is no longer a small town.
We got here as fast as we could.
Big city, small town, same story.
Home is more than the house you live in. It's our town.
We traveled to 3 places in North Texas: Hazlet, Salina, and Forney. Each has seen and felt the unprecedented population boom in the last 20 years. North Texas adds a new person every 3 minutes. That's 18 people an hour, 429 a day, and 3,015 people a week.
Many of us were born in Terrell, but we are all Forneyites.
Forneyites?
Forneyites.
Don Teamer taught nearly 4 decades at the Forney school he attended. Growing up, there were 1,500 people in town. Now it's over 40,000.
When I used to go to the post office, if 15 people are in there, I called them, I ball their names and talked to them. And now if 15 people are in there, we're lucky to know one of them.
Everybody knew everybody.
We all know each other.
60 miles away on the other side of DFW. For now. Hazlet's Mayor Gary Halsey is charged with managing a city being swallowed up by a growing Fort Worth.
Most of the traffic you see here, probably 90% of it, none of it's Hazlet. It's all pass-through.
We're in what I call the Golden Corridor between Preston Road and the Dallas North Tollway. Come on, Bucky.
Rex Glendenning is a 4th-generation Salina
104 inches from tip to tip.
and a longtime land broker.
Ladylike.
But he'd really like to talk with
When
you
you're buying art, that might be a Monet.
about his longhorns.
Or that could be a Picasso. I can talk about horns for about as long as you have an ear to hear it.
Ask all 3 and they'll tell you North Texas's landscape has changed, literally and figuratively. What was once all pasture and farmland is now this. Rooftops as far as the eye can see. A dizzying maze of single-family homes. In one of the longest-running local papers, the Forney Messenger, it advertised homes in 1973. Guess how much they were going for?
A new house, $18,000.
Close.
Pretty close.
$25,000 is barely enough to make a down payment now.
I am sad that we have grown to this size so quickly.
You might as well grin and bear it because it's coming whether you want it or not.
Salina is the fastest-growing city in the country, over 50,000 people and a 300% growth rate.
I think Salina will be the largest city in Collin County.
That is a bold statement. Growth is complicated, especially if you're having to adjust to the changing dynamics. Misconceptions about growth are real, too.
That there is money to address the infrastructure required to support the growth.
Most all cities are playing catch-up.
It's small town Texas.
Mayor Halsey says losing local control will make that harder. He's talking about the bills now in Austin.
Biggest threat to Hazlet right now and other cities is our legislature.
I would not want to be one of the persons in charge.
It's a real worry that cities will lose their identity in a boom.
They're pretty fat and sassy.
No amount of city planning can create that community.
You either have it or you don't, and we have it.
It's what puts the home in hometown.
My town of Forney.
And that's grown over time. In North Texas, I'm Jobin Penniker.
Jobin just showed us how growth can be a major economic boost, but it can also be difficult to manage. I'm Dia Wall here in Collin County. In Princeton, outside of McKinney, the town is trying to navigate new strains on infrastructure and emergency services. But the City Council's recent decision to put a pause on new development is already having an impact. Princeton is a part of Vicki Mize.
I am from here. I grew up here, went to school here, graduated from here. The population sign used to have 1,200.
1,200?
1,200. It was 1,206.
Now the population is just over 40,000 people.
In Princeton, we have that small town feel with all of your amenities and everything right around you.
You can buy like the cute little 3-bedroom, 2-bath for under $300,000.
She knows because she's been a real estate broker here for decades.
And I grew up in the business. So I actually started in real estate in 1985.
In 2024, Princeton pressed pause on new development. This month, extending that pause to July.
I want it to stop for a while. We need to catch up. I mean, we have no grocery store. You know, I mean, our highway is just crazy.
Most of us travel down the road and we don't think twice about what's under this street. But sometimes the subsurface isn't adequate to handle the traffic load that's coming to and from. You have your water and sewer and electric, but you also have the public safety component. Is everything going to be solved overnight? No, it's not. But it allows us to plan effectively when that is lifted.
Princeton is leveraging AI to draft the next phase of its master plan. Housing development is a big part of that.
We're looking at a little bit bigger lot lines, a little more quality housing build, so people can stay here for their entire lives.
Yes, we need it. That's what everybody says, because we've got all these tract homes, you know, and I always joke about, you know, you reach out and touch your neighbor. And I've had people too, I mean, some of these houses, you cannot even get a lawnmower between them. They're so close.
Change is coming, this time to how Princeton will grow into the future.
If you had a magic wand, would you go back to 5,000 people?
No. My big thing would have been just not to grow so fast.
It can be incredible to watch your city grow, but it can also put a lot of pressure on resources like fire, police, and other first responders. And in the city of Denton, it's all happening so fast.
Walk sign is on.
It's hard to imagine what Denton looked like 150 years ago. Lucky for us, it was well documented for its time. Black and white photos bring us to the 1870s. Denton had 370 residents and the fire department was just founded. That small town is now a booming city with 168,000 people and still climbing.
It's explosive growth.
Fire Chief Kenneth Hedges chose the city of Denton 29 years ago.
I knew growth would be prominent in this area.
He saw the potential. With so many new residents, new businesses, new homes, his team needs to grow too.
For 2024, we actually crossed over 23,000 calls for service.
There are currently 235 employees on the Denton Fire Department, and the call volume grows an average of 10% each year.
In the next 10 years, there would be another 60 to 70 new positions be required to maintain our growth.
Of course, growth isn't all glory. It certainly comes with growing pains.
Lots of new housing developments, lots of apartment complexes going up, and those seem to pop up overnight.
Battalion Chief David Boots was born and raised here.
I'm number 2 in longevity now in the department.
He says building materials have changed.
The biggest thing that we're finding is that houses are getting to a flashover point a lot faster than they used to.
That means engulfed in flames from ceiling to floor.
We need to respond quicker to potentially save lives.
And it's not just fires. They respond to hazmat, water rescues, medical calls, and so much more.
So how do you manage explosive growth? And our number one thing we do is data and plan.
Fire Station 9 opened last year with plans to open 4 more stations down the line and thinking 10 years ahead for new fire trucks and new firefighter paramedics.
Really, the big thing is prepare for the next generation.
Like the black and white photos from the 1870s, 2025 will one day make history as the decade of Denton's boom. And those 150 years from now will look back. In Denton, I'm Tiffany Liu.
Southern Dallas County is surrounded by growth, but they still struggle to land a large grocery store chain.
Yeah, but now we are standing in front of the construction site for the brand new Sprouts Farmers Market here in North Oak Cliff. You know, it took years of persistence by neighbors around here to make this happen.
Unfortunately, finding fresh produce and goods is still a struggle for residents. Brittany Moncrief has a look at the food deserts in this area.
50 years is a long time to fight.
I was one of the first black teachers at South Oak Cliff High School.
And Lovey Hawkins has been breaking down barriers since, while she watches her South Oak Cliff neighborhood progress.
That was just a field there.
She can't help but notice.
Open field with cedar trees.
What's been left behind?
As the neighborhood started to transition into more blacks, the various businesses started to move. Tom Thumb moved out of the area,
leaving her neighborhood a food desert.
I'm just going to say the color of our skin changed. That didn't change the color of our money.
The U.S. Department of Agriculture defines food deserts as areas with limited access to healthy and affordable food within a 1-mile radius for urban communities.
I go to different parts of the city, East Dallas, Cedar Hill, North Dallas.
It's the same battle Frederick Terry takes on after moving into his childhood home in Oak Cliff.
We're literally talking about places that have nothing versus places that have, I drive past 5 stores to get to the one that I really like. You guys live in the area?
So Frederick started A Better Oak Cliff, advocating for a grocery store.
HEB owns property just right down the street from here, and they've owned it for over 7 years, and they've not done anything with it.
HEB owns this property at Beckley Ave and Davis Street and tells us they have no plans to share at this time.
Why they ain't make a store out of it?
That's the question that we're all asking.
Including Dr. Edward Rinken, who researches Dallas food deserts.
If they have money to spend and they consume food just like everybody else, why do they not deserve to have mainstream supermarkets?
His 2020 study found 91 food deserts in Dallas County, over half in the southern sector, majority black and brown communities.
We've identified 5 food deserts that had upwards of $20 million that they earned in income, and about $2 or $3 million that they received in SNAP food benefits. And that's plenty of money.
He also looks at robberies, assaults, and drug crimes.
Crime was pretty spread out. So crime couldn't have been the real reason.
And because many people travel for food.
So it basically makes them look like there's no money being spent in their community, but in actuality, they're the ones that are spending it in other communities.
It's what businesses call retail leakage. To keep money in her community, Lovey drives about 15 minutes to this Kroger in the Inwood Village neighborhood. It's a smaller Kroger store that's been here 50 years. John Votava runs Kroger's Dallas division and walks us through its near $1 million renovations.
In June, when we did our grand reopening, we've seen sales go up at this location 13%.
John says the price of building new stores has increased.
It's gone up about 50%, since COVID.
Really?
Yeah, we've just seen, inflation, cost of materials, cost of labor.
So they opened a fulfillment center in South Dallas for delivery and food pickup. And HEB opened a smaller version of its stores, Jovi's, on West Wheatland Road.
If we can't have a real HEB, don't give us a knockoff.
Some of these companies are fully committed to doing the bare minimum.
So the fight continues, even up to City Council. In 2023, the city awarded Tom Thumb a $5.8 million tax incentive to build in the Redbird area. That's South Oak Cliff bordering Duncanville. This past December, Tom Thumb backed out, telling WFAA the decision came after their standard reevaluation stage in September. In a statement, they say, despite the fact that the company, Albertsons Companies, determined that the Tom Thumb store in this location was no longer viable, the company gave extraordinary additional consideration for the project, including conducting further due diligence to consider every possible option before making the difficult decision.
I believe that Joe V scared of them. I think another grocer came in and opened their door before they opened their door, and they had opportunity, and I think they got cold feet.
Tanel Atkins is the City Council's Economic Development Committee chair. He says in order to bring mainstream supermarkets, the southern sector needs more population density and improved infrastructure.
We got to work with economic development and bring business in there and bring people who are going to work there, live there, and that's why we're doing the parks, the trails.
A process that takes time, which many say they don't have.
It comes a time when you'll have to take things into your own hand and take care of your own.
That's where Friendship West Baptist Church comes in. Lovey joins their First Lady, Deborah Peak Haynes, in their own community garden.
We're just trying to bring awareness and also give access to let them know this is really the foundation of good health.
A lot of people didn't know that, but the leaves of the plant, when it's fresh, it's a very good vegetable.
Isaiah Mataruka tends the garden.
The leaves of the sweet potato?
Yeah, it's a very good, yes, look at this one.
Using techniques from his home country, Zimbabwe.
If we can't have fresh produce that we can go to in the stores, let's just grow our own.
Or
we were formed to try to bring a grocery store to the area.
Advocate for your own.
I know it's going to take an investment of a private entity, a for-profit grocery chain to do this, but I don't think this is a big ask.
2 generations.
It's time that we stand up and say no more.
One fight. In Dallas, I'm Brittany Moncrief.
We have much more ahead in this Boomtown Special. Raise your hand if you used a car to get around today. If so, you probably sat in some traffic, but that doesn't seem to be enough to inspire drivers here to hop on a bus or a train.
We have been brainwashed into believing that this is the only way the city can survive.
Our complicated relationship with public transit and what it means for the future of our booming region. And later, a plan to dam up the Sulphur River in East Texas to quench the thirst of North Texas.
Texas is, a growing state and it needs more water.
But at what cost? A project that would flood many acres of farmland and wash away generations of history, homes, and livelihoods.
Where's my family gonna go? Where's my community, friend?
The battle over water, who wins, who loses, and what's at stake, that's ahead. Public transit is often seen as a way to ease congestion, but improving it here is not all that straightforward. From limited options to our deeply rooted car culture here, there are a lot of hurdles to overcome. Our transportation reporter Janelle Fort is diving deeper now into that complex relationship between our booming region and its transit future.
We can take the red line coming in 6 minutes. The blue line is right here.
Hexel, Colorado knows the dirt transit system better than most. It's how he's got around for more than 3 years after doing what many Dallasites would say is unthinkable. He got rid of his car.
I like to call myself an amateur urbanist.
Since then, he's become one of the most vocal advocates in North Texas for more mobility options.
We have been brainwashed into believing that this is the only way the city can survive. And really, the city was born, and the city has thrived on mass transportation, on walkability.
But he's faced a lot of pushback.
People like to think about highways as connectors, when really they are chains. They're chaining us to a way of life that the city was not built for, it was not meant for, and is hurting our wallets, hurting our climate, hurting our communities.
There's no doubt DFW's relationship with public transit is complex. We've seen it play out in council meetings.
And there's nothing but a chain link fence between them and all the trash that comes up here on their trains.
And in conversations with everyday people. No one's felt it more than DIRT's CEO, Nadine Lee.
I don't think I fully grasped the love affair with cars here in the North Texas region.
Until some of DART's member cities began pushing to reduce their tax contributions to the agency. But Nadine says they're missing the important role public transit can play as our population booms.
When we're talking about the future of mobility in the North Texas region, we have to think about transit. And the reason we have to do that is because we are running out of space.
Outgoing Texas Transportation Commissioner Robbie Vaughn says as more drivers come to Texas, the state is pouring billions into expanding highways.
Our commission made the largest financial commitment to infrastructure ever. A $147.8 billion for construction and project development costs.
But he told us public transit only gets a small fraction of state funding.
There's about $250 million available for transportation alternatives.
Author Megan Kimball explored the discrepancy in her book about Texas transportation infrastructure.
In the book, I talk about the campaign to remove I-345. So TxDOT is actually moving forward with a plan to rebuild that highway and in some ways expand it. It's a $1.5 billion project. I learned recently that DART's entire operating budget is $1.5 billion. That is a 1.5 mile stretch of highway.
She says her extensive research found that building bigger highways doesn't necessarily fix congestion.
So the phenomenon of induced demand has been understood since at least 1962, when an economist articulated why all these highways we were building didn't seem to solve traffic. And he said that demand on that highway rises to meet supply.
Still, the freedom that comes with traveling by car fuels North Texas's car-centric culture. And whether that mindset changes will factor into if people will embrace public transit as part of the solution. I'm Janelle Fort.
Take a stroll in the heart of Denton and you'll feel it, a blend of charm and community pride. This area is about to undergo a big renovation, but it will keep its character and what makes Denton, Denton. This is a certified Texas Main Street city. You'll find them all over the state, including 67 miles from here in Rockwall County's Royce City. Their neighbors are doing what they can to balance the evolving population and make sure they keep their rich history.
I call it everything home. Anything that you could find and love and make a home with, we should have.
Holland Moeller opened Timeless on Royce City's Main Street 3 years ago.
I've always been drawn to like old architecture and antiques and stuff like that, and so being down here just made sense rather than being like on something on 30 where you're not, it doesn't give you that home feel.
Moeller says business owners on Main Street are like family. They're on group text, they plan events together, and they've all watched this area change.
It's grown to where every building is full now. Cookston Court wasn't here whenever, so there was not that gathering place for people to come down to and hang out at.
We work very hard to have a vibrant downtown.
Cookston Court is now a colorful oasis. It was once Paula Morris's passion project. She heads up Royce City's Texas Main Street program.
The more that we enhance and preserve, the historic integrity of the buildings, the more appealing and inviting it is.
Royce City became a Main Street community in 2012. The goal of the Texas Main Street program is to help cities revitalize their downtowns without losing that charm and history that makes it special. One perk, architects who are available at no cost to help design renovations that preserve the historic integrity of the buildings.
Not only does it make the community more inviting, but it increases the property values. With that, more people come, sales tax increases, more people are here, employers need more employees, so it creates jobs. It's just a domino effect.
The program has driven over $5 billion in reinvestment in Texas downtowns, creating jobs and supporting small businesses.
On the weekends, in the evenings, people are lined up at the restaurants. They're lined out the door.
Morris says Royce City's Main Street sees thousands of visitors each year, and the money earned goes back to downtown revitalization.
I continue to hear that downtown is the heart of Royce City.
Proving that preserving the past can create a brighter, more prosperous future for the entire community.
Thank you.
We have so much more ahead in our Boomtown Special.
Yeah, including a controversial plan to flood farmland in East Texas. A new reservoir would collect water in East Texas to be sent to quench DFW's booming population. But at what cost to families who've lived there for generations?
In order to know where the population is headed, we have to take a look back. Up next, a history lesson on North Texas growth and what's caused the booms over the years. Plus, coyotes and mountain lions spotted in the middle of neighborhoods. What happens when construction goes up right in the middle of a wildlife habitat?
From the railroads to DFW Airport, transportation has been central to DFW's explosive growth.
That growth now continues into the 21st century. Jobin Punaker takes us on a Texas history tour of how population booms have shaped our region.
As a region grows, so does its skyline. A history now marked in steel and glass. But it didn't start that way.
The first settlers came in the 1840s.
DFW's young 150-year history is marked by significant moments.
There's probably been a series of booms, really.
In the 1870s, the railroads made this once isolated area accessible. Historian Dr. Michael Hazel.
Dallas became kind of the hub with the spokes going out in every direction, and that was a huge advantage economically.
When industry arrived, so did the people.
My family's been in Salina since 1887.
Rex Glendenning is fourth generation of his family.
Here comes your bull right there.
He's known as a longtime land broker.
It's like
but also
Art walking around on 4 legs, right?
Many know him for his longhorns. He remembers when Salina had under 1,000 people. It now has 50,000.
Everybody knew everybody.
In the early 1900s, the oil boom made DFW a hub for banking and finance. Dallas was doubling in population every 20 years. Post-World War II saw the next population spike. Texas Instruments attracted a lot of people.
One little invention that we sort of take for granted, I guess, that made this possible is air conditioning, which made living here feasible or comfortable.
Development started to move north. Suburbs became big cities, and Fort Worth had turned metropolitan.
Transportation has always been a major theme here.
First it was Love Field, then DFW Airport in the 70s. North Texas was taking shape.
One thing that this region has is land, and it's fairly flat.
Location, location, location. We have the location.
The Glendennings have seen every boom since the 1800s, and now in Salina,
well,
another is at their doorstep.
You might as well grin and bear it, because it's coming whether you want it or not.
It's remarkable how this turned to this, and that's over 150 years. Imagine in another 50 years.
It'll be interesting to see what's in the background, because it may not look like this anymore.
In DFW, I'm Jobin Parker.
We have this whole series of reports that we're going to be doing this year called Boomtown, which will focus on the explosive growth we're experiencing here in North Texas. And so I would like to start with these cities. I know, obviously, none of these are in North Texas, but they do help illustrate what has been happening here. From 2020 to 2021, the North Texas population went up by about 120,000 people. That's like the cities of San Marcos, Katy, and Pecos, all moving here. A year later, an increase here of more than 202,000 people, roughly the equivalent of Brownsville and Fredericksburg, also packing up and relocating here. Then from 22 to 23, we grew by another 149,000 people. That's like New Braunfels and Texarkana moving in too. And then from mid-2023 to the beginning of last year, so in just about half a year there, we added another 75,000 people or so. That's like plopping Brenham and Galveston in North Texas too. It's getting crowded. To accommodate everyone, though, we have been developing and sprawling here. This is a Google Earth time-lapse of Rockwall and Rowlett. It shows what has been happening in the past couple of decades. Much the same story in Lake Worth, Saginaw, and Blue Mound. Check that out. More explosive growth in McKinney and Frisco and Little Elm. And let's do one more. I love looking at these. The fields just turned to cityscapes as you look at what has happened in Wiley and Saxe. Why do so many people keep coming here? It's certainly not the allure of beautiful ocean beaches or majestic mountains, though that does look cool. It is the opportunities here. Look at the last 10 years of job growth here. Even with that outlier negative COVID year, the greater Dallas-Fort Worth-Arlington Metro has added almost 1 million jobs in a decade, an average of about 95,641 additional people employed here each year. So it's not just people moving here, businesses have been coming too and bringing jobs and headquarters. But this year, Site Selection magazine reported that Texas slipped from first place to being tied for the 4th best state for doing business. And yet they noted that the Dallas Metro was still selected by the people who advise CEOs on relocations as the best place for a headquarters. It seems the executives have been listening. According to Why Texas, the greater DFW Metro is now home base for 48 of the 1,000 biggest American companies. That's more than any other region of the state. And companies that have been moving here have been coming from all over. The Dallas Chamber put out this brag graphic last year to illustrate that. But as we will get into in the Boomtown series, we are confirming that when you grow fast, you have growing pains. More on that ahead. In the meantime, this is all of our growth story here, so if you have specific Boomtown story suggestions, send them to us at boomtown@WFAA.com or hit me up on my socials at Jason Wheeler TV on Facebook, Threads, and Blue Sky, where we're booming while remaining right on the money.
As DFW's population balloons, there is not enough water to quench projected demand. And now state leaders are racing to find new water supplies in the Metroplex. As Matt Houston shows us, one project in East Texas could support as many as 3 million new residents, but it would come at a steep, irreversible cost.
It's nothing better than this right here.
When the wind whispers in Cuthand, it seems nature stops to listen. Nothing interrupts that God-sent silence except Eddie Belcher.
This to me is heaven. I don't know what everybody else, to me it's heaven.
So Paradise is about 700 acres, 20 miles north of Mount Pleasant, all under a calm canopy.
The quietness, the tranquility, the things you see.
Eddie would tell you he's living his afterlife on the land his family bought a century ago. He'll pass it down to his 6 grandchildren.
This here is my great-grandfather's old house.
One property in one family for 7 generations. But its heirs bear a burden.
Everybody's getting old, and this thing wears on you, man. It wears on me, and I know it wore on my daddy. I think about this thing every day.
Since the 1950s, state leaders have debated damming up the Sulphur River to form a lake, the Marvin Nichols Reservoir. Pipes would carry its water to booming DFW, where soon there may not be enough to quench demand.
Texas is, a growing state and it needs more water. Unfortunately, we're running out of that.
For years, Kevin Ward led the committee in charge of finding water for the Metroplex, a group that's recommended Marvin Nichols construction. Their analysts project shortages beginning in 2030 if current supply is not boosted.
You're going to see water rates go up. You're going to see reductions of use. You'll probably see restrictions on landscaping.
The problem worsens with time. The region will need 221,000 acre-feet of water each year by 2030 and 1.33 million by 2080.
Later, what you'll see is growth will slow. Jobs will dry up. You won't have people wanting to move here. You'll see business relocations. You'll see things that you really don't want to see.
Marvin Nichols would not close the gap on its own, but it'd provide enough water for about 3 million people in DFW, or 23% of projected demand. But people live in East Texas, too.
Everything in my family will be underwater.
The project would flood almost 70,000 acres, and the state would claim another 130,000 to offset its environmental impact. No one knows exactly which farms or ranches would be taken for preservation.
Where's my family going to go? Where's my community, my friends? It's not only me. It's going to break the whole community up.
That community works in warehouses like this one.
You're always going to need wood.
Brett Lowry manages the Ward Timber Sawmill in Linden. The biggest logs become railroad ties, smaller planks are treated and used for shipping pallets, and the scraps become diapers.
Everything we do here affects so many other industries around here. Our biggest concern is the loss of raw materials for the sawmill.
Their hardwood comes from the Sulphur River Basin. Flooding those forests leaves little land for the local timber industry to replant what it cuts down. Sawmills in northeast Texas could not easily replenish their own supply, so they'd need to buy wood from other regions.
I think anybody that believes in private property rights, protection of the environment, not robbing the poor to pay the rich, I don't think they would be for this project.
Jim Thompson is Ward Timber's attorney and leads the committee in charge of Northeast Texas's water supply. He argues too much of DFW's water goes to waste, and that the state has not adequately explored alternatives to Marvin Nichols.
To me, the project and the planning process itself, to some extent, is flawed. I think there are entities that are going to make so much money off of this project they can't turn it loose.
It'll cost at least $7 billion to build the reservoir, but Kevin Ward contends that is the cheapest realistic proposal, partly because it's the closest to the new demand.
Marvin Nichols just happens to be at that sweet spot right now as far as the dollars and cents go, where the pipes are already running in some cases, where they'll be run in the future. Marvin Nichols is there.
We're certainly willing to work as far as additional water resources that we have available, but not this project, not one so damaging to our area.
Not to exceed 5 minutes.
The two sides will have to come to some agreement before the State Water Board drafts its next 5-year plan this fall. The debate will almost certainly reach the state legislature.
This will be resolved in one way or another. Will someone come riding in a white horse with another solution to where you don't have to do this? It could happen.
Come on!
It's just about everyone's prayer.
Come on! You want some? Huh?
Though few have begged for divine intervention more than the ones who believe they're already in heaven.
Come on! God ain't making no more land. But let us live our life. And we'll try our best to help you any way we can, but don't take our homes.
That would bring a kind of silence that he can't stand. In Cuthand, I'm Matt Houston.
There's no doubt development changes how and where animals live in North Texas. Sometimes they can adapt, and sometimes they can't. It takes about a second to spot an animal on Granbury's Fall Creek Ranch.
It's a whole ecosystem. It's a whole little world out here.
And the family that owns all 1,400 acres plans to keep it that way.
They're just losing their homes. And I mean, not just the big predators or anything, everything.
Karen Langdon bought the ranch back in 1980.
Used to not have anything there.
She and her son Kelly watch year after year.
There wasn't a light out there.
As North Texas land like theirs gets bought up,
won't have those horizons anymore.
Split up.
It will have houses all over it.
Then built up.
And that's sad, really sad.
Places like this are getting developed and there's not as much habitat left.
So the Langdons went to extraordinary lengths and placed a conservation easement on their land.
Lasts forever.
Which means it can never, ever be split up or developed.
You know, you do give up a huge chunk of money. I mean, the ranch next to us, lots are selling for $90,000 an acre.
But the Langdons believe preserving this land is worth something money can't buy.
They recognize the issue of development.
Urban wildlife biologist Sam Kieschnick does too.
We're simply going to see the loss of wildlife habitat. That just exists.
Kieschnick told me some species, omnivores that are more adaptive, do survive development.
For some of those animals, they do well. They do well, the bobcats and coyotes.
You might even see them in your backyard, alive and well. Kieschnick said development doesn't make them more aggressive, but it does kill and displace lots of other animals. Birds and insects, for example, which are vital to our ecosystem, functioning as a whole.
Some of them will move, some of them leave, some of them die.
And as Texas loses hundreds of thousands of acres each year to developers,
wildlife don't have a voice when you start talking about building new subdivisions or new businesses.
Each acre these guys get to keep goes a long way. In Granbury, I'm Sydney Persing.
From the booming sites of Frisco to plans to bring a new airport to McKinney. Look, Collin County, it is growing at a rapid rate. We've talked about it. You may have seen it riding up here, but it almost makes you wonder, look, is there any room left to build? I've actually found out that answer for you. Where I'm standing at is the largest undeveloped area left in the county. And I talked to developers on what their plans are to build this area. Life moves at a certain pace, and here in McKinney, it's giving all the signs of a town that continues to grow. But about 6 miles outside of city limits,
we've been on this farm for 25 years.
Life moves just the way John Johnson likes.
We're building a spit.
And this farmer also owns a barbecue shack.
This is what you grill whole animals on.
A life he created here in Collin County.
It was extremely rural and quiet.
But his newest neighbor could bring a noise of its own.
It's fairly sad to see a lot of these big pieces that we've all been farming on for many years. The development, you know, it's inevitable.
The largest undeveloped area in Collin County could be the next big multi-use development.
This is the last truly large tract of land in Collin County.
And it neighbors John's property.
It really is a beautiful piece of land.
County Commissioner Darrell Hale says the land was bought by the real estate firm old Prosper partners, and already parts of the outer loop are under construction.
From a valuation perspective, it's going to be in the billions of dollars.
Comina Ranch stretches about 4 miles wide. But to give you a better look at this area, let me show you from a different angle. So this is about 2,500 acres, and the plans could bring close to 6,500 homes here. That includes retail and office space.
It was going to happen. You know, there's a lot of growth coming in. We're growing at almost 100 people a day in Collin County.
Right now, the developers are in the layout and design phase, so it could be a while before homes pop up. But for their neighbors, like John,
The opposite of progress is regress.
not all change of pace is a bad thing.
It definitely improves the value of our land.
This pace, rather welcomed.
That's why I bought it.
In Collin County, I'm Richard Solomon.
Well, we've come to the end of the show, at least for this edition. Stick around, though. There's going to be more to come on this. But we want to thank you for being here for this Boomtown Special. And if you would like to see the data behind our coverage, all you have to do is go to WFAA.com/Boomtown. And you can also find all of the stories that we've been showing you right there.
And if you have a story about growth, go ahead, send us the idea, boomtown@WFAA.com. Thanks again for joining us.